And why is that? Why are we seeing more and more allergies and food allergies, or do we know why?
Well, I mean, the short answer is that it's a perfect storm, or rather an imperfect storm, of uh, factors that came together um, in some ways by chance. So um, uh, in the 90s, we started to really notice peanut and nut allergies. They were not as prevalent as now. Peanuts were seen as choking hazards in babies, and in fact, as you'll know, Dr. Whitney, I mean, aspiration of solid objects into the lungs is a problem in babies, and um, babies or young toddlers who are fed large whole peanuts too early before they could chew properly uh,
Hmm.
had problems. Um, we started. There was a shift to move away from introducing allergens. As we saw and became more aware of allergies, there was this realization, and I would say to a certain extent, flawed thinking, which I myself was guilty of, that,
Hmm.
well, if a baby has peanut allergy and eats peanut, um, that causes a reaction, and that obviously a baby with peanut allergy needs to avoid peanuts. Uh, but that was really extended, and the idea came around that, well, in order to prevent peanut allergies, we should not give babies peanut allergy. That will prevent them from developing peanut allergies. Same with
Hmm.
other foods. So we really confused the trigger of an allergic reaction, i.e., eating the peanut, with the cause of developing it. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, the analogy I often like to use is we know that exercise causes angina or heart pain in people with coronary artery disease. So a lot of people can't take too intense exercise if they've got heart disease. So, by extension, you could say, well, taking young adults and making them sedentary or turning them into couch potatoes would prevent heart disease, which is a
Hmm.
complete misconception. And that's a bit the sort of logic we applied. I mean, there were other reasons as well, based on immunological grounds. If you're not exposed to the food protein, well, your immune system is unlikely to develop allergic antibodies. Um, so that was one strand of thinking. But also in general, I would say, uh, you look back 30 years ago, most babies in the UK, or certainly in the 70s and 80s in the UK, most babies were being introduced to solids at 10 weeks of age. And
Yeah.
around the 2000 mark, WHO, UNICEF, for good reason, emphasized the importance of breastfeeding. But breastfeeding became exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months with no introduction of
Hmm.
anything else in the first 6 months of age, which I would say has contributed to the problem because for
Hmm.
many foods, you need to be exposed to the foods before that. So, change in thinking about introducing foods was one issue. The other big issue um, is or was the increase in eczema and dry skin. And there was really a surge in eczema in the last 20, 30 years. And we now believe that actually allergies, tolerance, we believe, develops by eating the food very early on. We believe that allergies develop by exposure through a broken down or dry skin in young babies with eczema.
Hmm.
So if a baby has dry skin or eczema, the parents in the home environment are eating peanuts and nut butters, and the baby is exposed to these through the skin. That triggers an allergic response, an IgE. IgE are the allergic antibodies,
Hmm.
uh, and leads to allergy. Whereas if the baby is allowed to eat peanut very early on, the hypothesis was it would drive tolerance. So you look at it all together, it's withdrawing foods from baby's diet, prolonged exclusive breastfeeding, and an explosion, for reasons we don't completely understand, in eczema and dry skin in babies that came together to produce this epidemic.